as Lindsay said, I'm Judy Moore. I'm the Deputy Director at the New River Gorge Regional Development Authority and the Executive Director at the West Virginia Hive. And that's what we're here today to talk to you mostly about is West Virginia Hive and the services that we provide. Before I get started, I do want to recognize Peyton Ballard, who is our Director of Entrepreneurship Initiatives, and Mary Legg is our Outdoor Industries Business Advisor. So, and I also want to thank Ashley Wall, who is on our Hive board, for being here as well. So, real quickly, I just wanted, a lot of people ask the question, how does West Virginia Hive and the Country Roads Angel Network, which is a program that we administer through the Hive, how do we actually fit within the New River Gorge Regional Development Authority? And of course, Nicholas County is one of the 4 counties that NRGRDA supports. And so quickly, I just want to show you, these are the 4 buckets of work that the NRGRDA does. And we actually, within entrepreneurship and the Country Roads Angel Network program, we fit into all of these buckets of work. And so we actually kind of cover the gamut. But primarily, we're bucket number 2, the small business and entrepreneurship support. But we are a 501c3 program. We're a subsidiary organization of the NRGRDA. And our mission is to provide small business services and support the businesses in any way that we can to help them grow. And if we don't have the resources internally at the Hive to provide that support, then we reach out to our network. And we have a network a vast network, I should say, statewide, to help in many, many ways. And so Nicholas County is one of 12 counties that we cover. Again, I'm going to go through these things really, really quickly. We also, in addition to business advising, which is our #1 service, we provide technical assistance support. And this training that we're doing today is part of that type of support that we do. But we do trainings like this, we have webinars, we have 10-week training programs, and we also have what we call technical assistance funds that the business needs to meet a certain level of criteria, but they're like mini grants. And so we get funds from federal sources such as the U.S. Economic Development Authority, USDA, Small Business Administration, and so forth. And so we just in turn work with the business to identify their needs and then work with them through criteria to try to get them these little mini grants to help offset that type of expense. These are our business advisors, which Mary is one of them. And we customize the effort. Whenever you come to us to ask for help, the first thing we'll do is do an assessment with you to identify what your main needs are. If you come in very early and haven't even got your business open, obviously there's going to be a lot of work to do, and we'll identify what the key pieces are that we need to do first, and then we'll just start whittling away at them to help the business to get up and running and more successful. If you're already open and you have obstacles, then we can identify what those obstacles are, and also businesses that are in a growth position. We work with a number of businesses like that as well, and so any stage we're happy to support the businesses. The last thing that I will say is if you would like to become a Hive client, all you have to do is go to our website is wvhive.com, and there's apply up in the right-hand corner there, and that's step 1. It's a minimal intake type of application, and then that will be sent over to one of our business advisors, and it starts from there. So it's a very, very simple process. I won't go through all of these other things. We have a lot of partnerships that we do, but this is our entire team. And but we're here to support you. And because of COVID, unfortunately, we haven't been out and about in the communities like we would like to be and like we were prior to that. And so we're really here today to try to reestablish a presence, a bigger presence within Nicholas County, so that we can, find businesses. We know there's businesses here that need our help. And so after the training today, Mary Peyton and I will be around, so feel free to strike up a conversation if you'd like. And Roxy, that's all I have, and you can take it from there.
Sorry, give me just a minute to switch slides, okay? Okay, to go through this. All right, well, my name's Roxy Turner. I'm your trainer today, but social media and especially Facebook is what we're working on in this session. And that's what I used to do, actually. I was a blogger. Professionally, I made money through it, quite a bit of money through it too. And I if anything, that's what really got me started, was to some extent people wanted to know how to get traffic, how to start working, but also what social media can do for you. And so today's is a little bit of going through Facebook, how it can work for you, but some of the other things that you can do as well. Before I go into just a little bit about myself, what are you here to learn? Like, what expectations do you have, hopefully, in this session? Anyone?
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads?
How they can benefit.
Okay, and how to use them?
How to use them.
And I have screenshots that I'll go through here that goes through that. I'll also teach you like the best way to do it, the easiest and the simplest way to do it too. So that's really my role today, is that anyone can start it, anyone can do it. You don't have to have like complete technical experience or knowledge in order to do that either. So let me go ahead. And this is a little bit about me. As you can tell, I'm not from here originally, but I guess a West Virginian at heart. But I've lived here for about 20 years or more. But I grew up in England. I think that some of you may have attended the last week's session, which it was hot as can be without AC. And that was on Google My Business or Google Business Profile. So I'm still a little bit jet lagged from that. I only really arrived back this weekend. But hopefully today's session you'll enjoy it. But I'm casual, as you can tell to some extent. So feel free, if you have a question, ask away. I'd be happy. So just interrupt me and you can ask those questions at that time. I don't need you to leave them till the end. Just ask away, okay? A little bit about me. My background's in mathematics and communication studies. I sort of merged the two. I loved maths, didn't want to ever give it up. But I also knew that mathematicians don't communicate. So I needed the communication side of things. So a lot of the time, maths professors are writing on the board, but they never tell you what they're doing or explaining it or anything like that, and I needed the other side. So that's why I did a dual honors degree and had both. I came here originally as an exchange student from Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge, England, to here. Marshall has the longest running exchange program of any of the universities in West Virginia with Anglia Ruskin, and it was kind of neat because it started up back in the 70s, and two Fulbright scholars kind of met each other for, in DC, swapped keys, swapped homes, cars, and then they were given a year to be overseas. And so 20 years later, they said, wouldn't it be cool? And they connected on email. Wouldn't it be cool to do that with our students? And so I was one of those students back in the 90s that came over through that. So, but that's how the exchange started. I was a public speaker, or at least public speaking is what I taught when I was at Marshall. I did that for about 5 or 6 years. I then went to a web development company, worked there for about 13 years that I was there. So I worked between the programmers and the client. A lot of the time, they don't understand one another, but yet I understand both sides. So I was able to be a consultant. And then from there, had my children, decided to go part-time, was looking for other extra means, or, to some extent, for my income. And then I came across, well, we built websites, but we never really taught people how to get traffic to them. And so that's where the blogging came in. And then from there, I held different professional positions from there on. And now I have my own company and my own business. And it's Mars Strategies, and it's named after Matt, Aliyah, Roxy, and Zach. So it's my family name. I was trying to think of a name, and Arms didn't do it, or Rams didn't do it. So that was the one that I came up with. And I was like, well, I'll shoot for the stars, I'll shoot for Mars. So why not? So these are some of the clients you may know of, I've seen. I was their corporate trainer. I've worked with them. I still actually today work with many of them that you see here on the screen. But it all began when I, in 2011, started a Will and Kate Daily website. They were the up-and-coming thing back in 2011. Blogging was still a little bit new. I launched the site on April 29th, their wedding day. I had 50 blogs put together. I had a programmer build the site for me and launched it all on that day. And I had 5,000 likes within that one day. And because it was monetizing, so I saw it as a way to get traffic, but also look for a way to make income. This is how I got started. I did that for about a year, continued on. It got really, really big. It got to the point where I didn't realize how big they were going to become. And MI6 was looking at my website, and Secret Service was looking at my website, and got calls from the BBC News. And I wasn't a fan. I was just experimenting. So it got so large, every time anyone typed in Will and Kate, my site popped up. So, but I knew I had to give it up. I wanted to stay anonymous. I didn't, unfortunately, sign up to be anonymous, so they knew exactly who I was. But something worked, because in that time I had over 300,000 fans of that site and millions of visitors coming to it. So the other side of the spectrum, as you can see, is Eminem Nation. I wanted to see if it was a fluke, whether it was just them, or whether it was something else. And so that's when I started Eminem, at that time, EminemNation.com. And within 4 months gained 70,000 and broke even on that. So I knew that, it was like, well, I broke even actually within a month, and then started making money from there onwards. So I knew that what I was implementing, what I was doing worked. And yes, I did well through it too. But from there, as I learned, a lot of people started asking me how to get traffic, how do you do it? Can you come and do some trainings and so on? And so that's what launched a little bit of my company. So that's a little bit about me. I always like to give a lot of information up front. So even if you fall asleep, and especially with the delicious food you've got right now through the presentation, I'm going to give you a lot of the detail now, okay? So if there's anything it's an experiment. Nothing works straight away. I've seen way too many people create one ad. It never works with one ad. You have to create 10 or 15 ads. Now my spend at that time, and it's still that way to this day, is about $50 a day. If you're serious about what you do and you want to get traffic to your site, you spend anywhere from $50 to $100 a day. Now if you're a massive company, of course you're going to spend a lot more than that. But small, just to start off, that's how much I saved. So it was about $50 to $100 a day that I was spending on ads. By the time I reached, I would say 4, 5, 6 months into it, I didn't need to spend that much because people knew my website, they were coming to me. I didn't need to spend that kind of money anymore, and then I reduced it to 20, because I was still making money and doing well through it too. Now, you may have heard, and people say too, it's like, well, I had 100 people visit, or that makes you nothing. It's pennies that you actually will make through a blog if you only receive that many. You have to get to the hundreds of thousands for it to actually generate even $100. So it's a lot of work. Blogging, Facebook ads is something that I actually actively worked on and did every day. So it depends what you want to do with your business and how you want to use social media, but that's something to keep in mind. And for me, that entire time, it took over my life to some extent, and I had little kids. It's something you do every day. So I got to the stage where not only was I doing one post, but by the end of it, I was doing about 5 to 10 posts a day to keep up with the demand of what people wanted through my site. So, but it's an experiment. You have to create many ads and see how they work, and run them at like $5 or $10 a piece. And then turn off somewhat, ones that are doing well, and then turn others, like leave some of them on, and then the others turn off. So like I said, create many ads. You need to create good Facebook posts. Now, all of mine weren't always great. Like when I first started, I used to write this much, then realized that actually people weren't reading that much. So it was bite-sized pieces. But I also came to realize they really weren't interested in Will and Kate. They were interested in her dress, her shoes, her handbag. And because I was able to gauge that within 5 to 6 months, I was able to see, okay, so if I mentioned that she wore a Zara dress or a Kate Spade handbag that she had on her, or certain shoes that she wore, well, anytime I mentioned them, Google would at least put an ad right there, and anytime anyone clicked on it, ka-ching for me, all right? So that's how my posts kind of changed. So it wasn't, yes, I thought people would be interested in where they're visiting, but it wasn't that way. It was more to do with, so I had to change my style, I had to change what I wrote about, purely because it was more interesting for my readers in terms of what
How did you come to realize that?
So in the comments. So if you can have a blog where you can turn your comments on or you can leave them off, so it's up to you. But it was in the comments that I would, like people would say on there, wow, I didn't know she wore Zara. It's like an everyday, like it's a $10 dress,
Yeah.
That type of thing. So, and that's how I came to realize it too. And also on like when you take a look at the blog or the post itself, you'll see things that are underlined, which are clickable by Google Ads. Well, if I mention the hospital, it's not clickable. Does that make sense? Because they're not advertising. But when I mention like Zara dress, it's clickable. Her shoes, it's clickable. When London, it's clickable. So because that's who's paying those to advertise basically. So that's how I got to know that. And advertising on Facebook, you can do $1 a day. I mean, nothing stops you from doing that if you want to start. But if you're really serious and passionate about what you want to learn or the business that you're implementing, it takes a lot more of an investment than that. I learned too that I needed to increase my likes, or your fans. Because the thing people don't realize is like, yes, they'll send you to the website, or you're advertising, you're selling something, maybe it's a book, a purse, whatever it is, and you send people, but really what you're looking for and you need is fans. When you get those fans, they're not going to cost you anything. After you've paid for them the first time, if you keep posting, it's not going to, so that's why I was able to reduce from $50 to spend a day to $20.
But has Facebook changed their algorithm, so whenever you post something, everybody on that likes your page, do they still see it? Or do you have to...
They'll come in different, they'll come at different times,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll be shown at different times. But see, I ran mine where, when I said I plugged in 50 posts? Well, I had, and this is where a programmer can come in. So I had a programmer sort of interact on my site every 20 minutes. So even though I had 50, does that make sense? So it didn't look like I may have posted 5 a day, but it actually looked like I posted 50 in that time period. So therefore, if you're that active, the posts just keep on coming.
Okay.
So we had it on a 20-minute. I didn't need to do it anymore on 20 minutes, so I did an hour. So you can have it where, and so even though, and that's why even today, I'm sure when you look through your Facebook posts, you see an ad and it's 2 years old. Like when you click on it or you read that news story, it's 2 years old. And that's why, because they've got it on a rotation. Okay?
How specific were you with your target?
Very.
Yeah.
Very, because, so I had to modify my targets. I thought, when it was men and women, all ages, and then I realized that actually the people that were clicking on my ads were, especially when you look at insights, or even within analytics, I started seeing that 90% was women. And then I modified my ads to be, and then of course, if I'm got on their dresses and so on, I know that for the most part, it's women that are looking for that.
So you didn't like minimize it based on the first ad?
No.
You kind of fished out?
I fished out, yes. So I did it, so I was just really broad and then completely went very narrow but that's what I realized. So, and because my post changed, I realized that's what people were looking for. So, but that's how I, like I said, increased those likes and those followers as well. And there's lots of tools and resources. Google Analytics is one, and then you've got insights within Facebook. And their algorithm, it's changed in the years. Things are a little bit more expensive, but even I had a training with Facebook last year. That none of the guts of it has changed. All of it has pretty much stayed the same. So there's 4 areas. You create your page, you create your post, and then you create your ad, and then you measure it. So that's the 4 areas that I'll go through with you. So when it comes to a page, this is where so as you know, you can click on your item and it's right there, and you create your page. Now, it's got to the stage where if you're a business, you still have to own the page. So Roxy Turner still has to own Will and Kate's page. It's not the business Will and Kate owning Will and Kate's page, because Facebook has to have a person that is in charge of that page. So if you tried, maybe, I had a friend that I was teaching actually, and he's like, I don't want to be associated with this. Like, I know that's the company I work for, but I created the page. Can I get out of it myself so that I could, yes, you can make somebody the admin and you can get out of it that way, but they always want a profile to go with that business. So it's not a business to business, it's a profile that actually has to own that business. So this is how you create your page, creating a post, and you've probably seen that too. There's different types of posts, from blogs to videos. Videos have become a lot more popular today, as you know, especially 5 to 10 second videos. TikTok is taking over a lot of it, and you've probably seen too, there's Reels now within Facebook. So that's because TikTok came along and took over that, it's taking over that social media. So in time, I don't know. I know that when I was in England, they're trying to taper TikTok a little bit more because they see it as a national security threat. I think the US does as well. So for now, it's still social media stations that are American made that are still leading. So that, like I said, that may change in time. Images, photos still work, text, there's text only posts, podcasts, and of course there's other people's or other types of content as well. This is, like I said, types of content that you can use for social media. And there's nothing wrong with using other people's content. So if you're like a yoga, that's what you do, is you do yoga and you have classes and maybe you offer that through Zoom. Nothing stops you from posting other people's content. So you don't have to be the blog writer every day, especially if this is something, like I did it more full-time. I was part-time in my company and I was able to post every day. Not everyone has that time, and I understand that. But if you can take an hour, you can always, if there's something that motivates you or and you think, wow, my readers will get something good out of this, post other people's content and then make sure you give them the recognition and the link back to them. So nothing stops you from doing that. Like I said, text, testimonials, podcasts are big too, website or blog posts, videos, and then images as well. So videos tell stories. That's actually the #1 format within Facebook today. Facebook Live actually garners 6 times more attention than anything else. If you can go Facebook, do something live for 5-10 seconds, even a few seconds, it actually, and how many of us like look at that top when you're looking at your phone and seeing those as well, because you know they're going to be quick. So that's something to keep in mind too. There's about 60% more engagement when it comes to videos. Again, 15 seconds to 5 minutes, and actually it's gone shorter than that. And then you get a lot of reactions to your videos as well. Text and copy. Asking questions is the #2 item that will get you the clicks, okay? FAQ, or asking questions, or what do you think about this? That is, if that's in your copy, people will answer those. If you do a survey, people will answer those. #4 is giveaways, coupons, link posts. If you can keep your characters or your words about 50 or less, that's another thing too. And then of course, there's more companies nowadays using the messenger or chatbot. So that way it's like, how can I help you as soon as you arrive on the Facebook page? So there's those as well. Quality photos and graphics, that's #3. And then, has anyone heard of the 20% rule? And has anyone actually done any Facebook ads? You have? Well, Facebook has this 20% rule. If you use that photo, 20% of that photograph is text. So they use that type of a rule. And I'll tell you some do's and don'ts as well when it comes to ads. There's image resizing. Just remember, when you take a picture too, and remember, when I did my blog, I didn't know Will and Kate. I didn't ever photograph them. I never met them or anything like that. So everything I did, I pulled from tabloid newspapers, okay? And then made it and wrote my own content around it once I'd done my reading and my research, and then that's how it became an entertainment site. But remember, when you pull photos and they're saved on your iPhone, you have to resize them. So in order for your website to come up quick, because you don't want it to load slowly, or your blog, for instance, to do the same thing, you resize those photos. And there's tools out there like GIMP, Pexels, Unsplash, and lots of others out there as well. And text on photos are legible or readable by Facebook as well. Images should be JPEG format within Facebook, PNG for high quality images, that's normally for logos, and then GIF files if it's animated in any way, shape or form. And then these are your ad sizes: single images, mobile, video, and then carousel ads as well. So let me ask you this, when you create your ads, what do you do it through? Is it Ad Manager or Ad Center? Does anyone remember?
Yep, normally Ad Manager.
You do it normally through Ad Manager?
Yeah.
Is how you do them. Why do you use Ad Manager?
It's normally the first thing that pops up when you make a post, like.
And so you go through that
Yeah.
mechanism. It's not the easiest to use.
It's not.
It's actually
Yeah.
very difficult,
Yeah,
quite
as far
difficult.
as like the targeting and stuff goes, it's hard to kind of narrow that down, but yeah.
Yeah, so I, just to let you know, last year when I worked with Facebook, actually, I had probably 5 or 10 training sessions with, about 10 training sessions with them last year. And they were going through the tools of Ad Manager. To this day, they couldn't beat what I had created in Ad Center. So Ad Center is very easy to use. When you actually go to your, it's difficult for me to go online here because I can't see the screen very well. It's actually quite small. But when you're looking at your page, on the left-hand side, you have all these like settings and so on. If you take a look at it, there's something called Ad Center. When you click on that, go through, whenever you create your ads, do it through that. Ad Manager is more for a technical programmer, and they can retarget, and they can put in pixels, and they can do various other things, and it's a lot more training required through it. And it's not really easy to use. But Ad Center is basically you create your ad, who you're targeting, what's the name of it, and I've got screenshots here too, and then and your location. That's it. So AdSense is very easy to use. It gives you that data pretty quickly, and for the most part, you'll be approved pretty much straight away. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Video editing software that's out there is something called Caden Live that you can use. There's image editing tools. I have this one on my Mac. It's just called Photos. But there's others like GIMP or Paint, and so on. Blog posts. Make sure that if you can, make a catchy title. Some of them have your keywords or key phrases in it in terms of what you're selling. Appealing photos. Even when you save your files, make sure, it's funny, it's like some of them save as 123.jpeg.com. Actually put in the word as to what it is, because that's a SEO component that Google uses. So keep things like that in mind. Links. Post when more fans are online. That's something that Insights shows you, and then ask your team, people you work with, and friends to share as well.
How important is it to do blogs to boost everything? You know?
To boost, not so much. Okay. To actually do a new blog or post every day.
Because it's time
Yes.
consuming. Is it worth it for small businesses to do that?
It is if you've got quality content. And what I mean by that is you're not doing it just for quantity, just to have it up there. It's so a lot of the time, from what the customers and clients I work with, and even I met with someone yesterday. She goes into people's houses and organizes them and declutters a lot of their stuff. Even with her, I said, you've got to, in order for people to come to your site and visit you and actually see any benefit, you've got to give some of that information away. So what is it, the room that you go into first? Why do you go into that room? What is it that, is a good habit to have, to start having each day? Give some of your information away, because that's when people still come back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you have to, so the thing is this, a lot of people keep that closed to them and confined to them. It doesn't work.
Well, you don't always want to be selling. I
Yes,
get that.
exactly.
Right.
But the thing is this, if you, even, if there were two insurance companies, or insurance providers, and one said to you, well, you need to do this, and I'll give you some advice as to why, and actually put it in front of you. Whereas another one that didn't give you as much information, you'll go with the one that actually suggested some things, right?
It builds loyalty.
Yes, and it
Yeah.
builds loyalty and it builds trust.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're trying to do with your business. You're actually building that trust. So you have to give away some of the information. So even when I was speaking to her, she's like, I want to, work. And then she said, I've done a list for a lot of friends. I want to now monetize it. And I said, well, use those friends. Then have those friends give you testimonials, but also go back to those friends and see if it's still working for them. If it's not, then you can write a blog with it. So there's lots of ways that you can, but you have to give some of that information away, because that's what builds trust. So creating Facebook ads, you can do it, like I said, through Ad Manager. It's a tool that looks like this, and it's, like I said, it's difficult. You have to create campaigns. You've got to have ad sets. You know how that works. Ads, and then you have some advanced targeting options within it as well. It's a lot more difficult to use. You've got, didn't I just create the ad? No, you didn't. You just created the ad set. Now you're going to create the ad. So it's a lot harder to use and to utilize. This is what Ad Center looks like. It just says create ad, and pretty much, it's, like I said, it's just easy to use. It's easy setup, minimal features. What's your interest? What's your age? What's your gender? And then you can start advertising straight away as well. And if I have time, hopefully at the end, I'll log into my Facebook and I'll show you how that works too. All right? And then, like I said, you set the budget as well. You can also create events, so you can boost those, advertise those within Facebook as well. So there's Facebook events. Again, once you've created something, you can create it as an event, and then you can say, is it paid, online, in person, whatever it is. And then you can create your event here, the event date, time, location. If there's a coupon attached to it, you can do that too. And then you publish your event, and it pops up for you. So And then there's boosting as well. Now people ask me sometimes, is it better to boost or is it better to just create the ad? Boosting doesn't work as well as if you just go ahead and create an ad. So I didn't, even when I created my posts, most of mine was always done through advertising. I never actually boosted any of my posts at all. So, but like I said, it's an experiment. It might work differently for different businesses. So there's no harm in taking a look in both of those as well. Have you used Facebook Pixels? Anyone in this room? You may or may not have heard of it either. Basically, what you see within Facebook, and sometimes when you're on somebody's website, you see a little icon pop up, and actually they're using pixels. What it is retargeting. How many times have you gone to like TripAdvisor, looked for like, oh, I'm going to Myrtle Beach, or Airbnb, for example, and you're finding somewhere, and then what happens? Suddenly you get an email, right? Or suddenly you get an ad pop up on the side, and you're like, well, how do they know I was looking for a place at Myrtle, right? Hasn't that happened to many of us? That's called pixels. That's what they're using. You pretty much, if you take a look at their policies, you'll realize that what you're doing is, and in fact, if you look at their privacy policy, they'll say on there that they're using Facebook pixels. And then that way they can retarget you. So then you get this coupon in your email to say, hey, I know you visited Airbnb, but you can now use this 10% coupon to buy. But that's how they target, and it's something called Facebook Pixels. Now, Facebook Pixels is not easy to use. Again, that's something you need a programmer for to actually put into your, because if you start using it, it's just not giving you the data that you need. So you install the pixel, you create it, and then you connect your audience to it as well. Like I said, pixels, when you use it, it retargets your visitors of a particular page, those that didn't sign up for that newsletter, for example, and visitors who left and with their shopping cart. That's why you get that email that says, hey, you didn't buy this product, here's 10% discount. Or you get that through your text, right? So it's that same philosophy that they have. And then, like I said, it's in your privacy policy because they're called Facebook Pixels and web beacons and things like that too. In terms of boosting posts, like I said, I think it depends on your business. If you like to boost posts, give it a try, and you posted something, no harm in it. It doesn't cost very much, but compared to ads actually usually do better than boosting your posts. I've come across companies that all they ever did was boosted. In fact, when I was working with Remax, the same, they always just boosted posts. They never created any ads, but it never worked very well for them. And so I had to teach them how to create their ads and actually do well through those instead. So this is what the boosting of posts look like, and it's just there on the right-hand side. And then this is the screen that it gives you as well. So if you're a special ad, like if you're a nonprofit or you've got housing or things like that, or a political client, you're going to have to go through their special ad category. I've worked with, in fact, PR companies that do ads for political candidates, and you have to be verified in order to use those. So it's different advertising for different companies and different people as well. So boost versus promoted posts. So targeting and bidding is different on both. With boosting, it's limiting. You can create multiple ads per post, and then one targets more desktop versus mobile as well. And there's no conversion tracking features when it comes to that too. Ads that are rejected. Usually ads are rejected because there's that 20% rule that I mentioned to you, that like you don't abide by it. So there's too much content on that photograph that you've added. Irrelevant image or copy, copyright use. If you're using all caps, that's another thing too. There's something to keep in mind too. Google Ads does the same thing. It's very, very similar if you do Google Ads. Ad copy is unrealistic. The URL doesn't match the page, and then you're targeting the wrong people. So that's the reason. So sometimes you will get your ads rejected. It takes usually about a day, sometimes anywhere from an hour to a day to actually get your ads or Facebook ads approved. When measuring your success, Google Analytics, has anyone used Google Analytics in this room? Yes?
We do.
You do? Okay. Does anyone here, so you have a website. Does everyone in this room pretty much have a website? Yes? If you don't have Google Analytics installed, I recommend it to do that. You may, again, need a programmer's help to actually put that in, because the companies I've worked with, unfortunately, their data doesn't match so the analytics was incorrectly placed. It used to be that a non-tech person could absolutely, just take the code and put it into, there's a form field there, and they give you a code, they email it to you, and you just put it straight in. It doesn't work that way anymore. If you don't have Google Analytics, I would hire at least a programmer for half an hour. You may have heard of a website called Fiverr, Fiverr.com. You can actually hire someone through there, or a local programmer that you know, and ask them to put Google Analytics on your site. It's fantastic using it because you can actually see independently how your Facebook ads are doing. So, because you need to take a look as to, you had asked too about your traffic. How did you know that that's what you targeted? That's why, is because in my Google Analytics, when I looked at those, I could tell it was 80-90% women. So that's another reason as well. The great thing too is, has anyone ever used something called UTM codes as well? If you just Google that and actually what you can do within Facebook, that's where Ad Manager comes in handy, is you can actually, there's a space in Facebook that says what's the UTM code? And you can create it, and actually it takes you back, as you can see here, I can see the actual ads and who clicked on them, how many users I had, how many sessions, what was the bounce rate in terms of how many people arrived and then left the site straight away as well. How long did they stay on the site? So I can actually see through this how those ads did. Now, something to keep in mind as well, you're going to have, majority of people are going to leave. So that's just a given. A lot of people, you're going to bring them to the site, and most of them, because you're advertising, it's very, very few that actually are going to stay and buy. So don't be discouraged when you see like a really high bounce rate, and then you see some that's 100%. Now, if they're 100% on everything across the board, you know that none of your ads are working. All right? Because no one's interacting. They get to your website and they're gone. But if you start seeing like 50 or 40 or 70, something is working, and you can continue those ads. But if you see 100% on everything, you know absolutely none of those ads are working, and we're paying money to get people to the site, but no one's staying there. Well, so this is what Facebook Insights looks like. Shows you some of your posts and how well they're doing, also what days people are coming in. That was another thing too, is do you post in the evenings, do you post in the mornings? That's a place you can see within Insights to see how many people are visiting your Facebook page or coming into your Facebook page. Customer demographics, sometimes given too. That way you can see how many people are coming into the site and who. And then remember to share a lot of your posts as well. So be social. If you're a business or a company and you've got a news company that comes in and does a video on you, make sure you post that on your website. Make sure you post that in your blog and any other social media channel that you have as well. So, like it says there, promote and advertise your business, local media. You can do it through local media, you can do it through Google ads, you can do it through Facebook ads. Does anyone use Instagram in this room? How does that work for you? How is that working?
Good for us.
It is?
Yeah, but I'm a campground and ice cream, so it's very visual.
Yes.
Nature.
Yep, yeah, so anything like crafts or, like you said, visual, it works really, really well. I think you can still maintain your ads through Instagram rather than Facebook's account, right?
Yeah.
You can. So I met a customer that she sold jewelry, for example, and it was high-end silver jewelry that she sold. You know, any of her pieces was always anywhere from $100 upwards. But she did well in Instagram. She had a lot of followers on Instagram. But when she installed Google Analytics and took a look, the buyers were Facebook buyers. So, because that age group is what bought more. So she didn't realize, for example, that she advertised, in fact, she did most of her ads on Instagram. But like, I worked with her, and when we took a look at her analytics, she couldn't believe that her buyers were coming in from Facebook. That's who were buying. So keep things like that in mind. That's why things like using Google Analytics is a fantastic tool. That way you can see your data as well. There's video. If you don't know how to do something, remember there's those YouTube videos out there, videos, blogs, websites. Udemy is a training. Like, you've got actual programmers that actually train you. If you want to learn even how to put in Facebook pixels, you can actually, I think it's like for $10 or $15, you can actually go through a complete training on how to put in those as well. So they're there, and many of them will help you and email you after. So if you're running into any problems, you can actually contact them. So that's a site that I've used. It's called udemy.com. And it works.
What's it called again?
UDEMY. It's for Udemy. And any type of training that you're looking for, they're verified, there's got reviews on it, and is not necessarily like a Craigslist or something that you don't necessarily know. So even Fiverr has that as well, but these are actual trainings that walk you through every screenshot too. And there's other tools too, that, of course, that you can use within social media. So you've got Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest. Mainly most people in this room, do you rely more on Facebook, or do you use any of these others? I know you said Instagram.
I use TikTok.
You use TikTok. How does that work for you? How's it going?
We do good with TikTok.
You do?
Pretty good. I mean, as far as followers.
As far as followers that you have?
And views that we get. We work on it every day.
So then, yes, you've got to. What do you do exactly? What is it that you sell?
I have a boutique. So I have clothing, bridal, and prom.
Okay, then it's that age group, right?
Yeah.
That works for you. So yeah, stick, like I said, and then I know there's tons of like different social media out there. Try and always have one that you stick with, like the
Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Yep, and then use some of those others.
And we know which kind of pages are gravitate for which platforms, so we kind of gear it towards that.
Do you advertise on TikTok too?
We don't.
Okay. I don't know if you had any expertise on that.
We haven't done any advertising. That's kind of why we're here today, trying to figure out.
Trying to figure out how and what. Okay, but yeah, TikTok. It's up, and I don't think it's going away. I mean, unless something happens, I think that age group is always that's what they're going to be, the TikTok user, not Facebook. More, I guess, older, more mature company, it's a Facebook, but absolutely, I agree with you there. Yelp and TripAdvisor, they're search engines, but also outlets, social outlets, especially when it comes to restaurants. Or an experience, for example, you've got them there. There's tools out there that you can use to post to all of them. I don't know if some of you have ever used them, but there's Hootsuite, which is actually quite popular, Buffer, and then Ripple, and then this is how much. That way, if you wanted to, and I don't know if you use something like that for all of your social media posts, but you don't right now?
Use her.
Okay, but yeah, there's things like that you can use and utilize, and that way everything is kept under one umbrella. too. Do you use something like that yourself? Or no, you just log into each of those components? Yeah. So I've had friends use this, I've seen it used, I've never used them myself. What I've seen is that they use them for a little while and then never bother again. So I'm not sure how efficient they really are in posting to everything. Marketing materials, there's Canva. Yep.
Love it.
Yep, it's a fantastic, like it's good for logos, it's good for your presentations, postcards,
Yes.
any of that. And it's quite easy to use
Yes, it is.
too. So, and how much is it a month?
You know,
I think it's like $9.
it's really cheap for the.
It's really cheap, yes.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, even the free version is.
Yeah, it exactly has so
Until
much.
you need the paid.
Yep, that's right. So if you've never used Canva, it's actually really easy to use. It will allow you to, create whatever type of graphic that you like for your business, whether, like I said, even help with logos and things like that too. You can create resumes, brochures, invitation cards, business cards, and also your posts. And in fact, create really nice posts.
Yes, it does.
within-
My daughter even uses it. She's a teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just great.
Yep. So Canva is actually is a fantastic tool to learn at least and be able to use and create those. Chat tools. Does anyone use any of those that's available to you? They're usually about $10 or $15 a month, but that way when you're on the website and this thing pops up that says, "Hey, I'd like to help," that's the chat tool. So if you have a website and you just turn on that chat tool, you don't have to have it on 24/7. You just turn on that chat tool. So if you know you're going to be in the office from 8 to 4, you have it turned on. But there's those tools out there too, and it says, "Hey, I saw you're browsing through these categories or these products. How can I help you?" And then you write back, and that's how. And then it alerts you on your phone to say there's somebody.
Another alert.
Yep.
So how successful is that? I mean, do people get annoyed by that? Because sometimes I do.
I'm annoyed by that.
I just wonder.
I think it's got to the stage where people more are annoyed, and like maybe not if you've got, you're asking
Depends on the
questions.
business,
Yeah, it
I
depends on
guess.
the business. Like I know, like if you're like when we flew American Airlines, if someone says, "Hey, can we help you? What's your booking?" You know
Yeah.
that you're going to ask a question there.
Yeah.
You may not necessarily when you're on your products, or they're just browsing through. So that's the reason I think that that it's there and it's used as well. Google Ads. Has anyone used Google Ads?
Little.
A little bit?
Yeah. I'll
How
have
is
two
it?
more. I think it's good. I mean,
It's actually getting better. It's actually got to the stage where it's better than Facebook.
yeah.
So Google Ads, and I know in one of your series, when I was actually speaking with Penny, we said we'll do a Facebook, but I said to, when I was talking to her at the time, I said, you need to do Google Ads, because Google Ads is where it's headed actually, to a great extent. I was trained actually this year. I've used Google Ads for quite a few years, but then this year I was trained by Google themselves on Google advertising and Google Ads. And I work actually with a former employee of Google Ads as well. But it's a fantastic tool. Like when you learn the ins and outs of how it works, it's a really good tool to create your ads. And you can, again, it's actually pretty inexpensive once you get started too. So that's something, if you have a website or if you like even your dresses, take a look at Google Ads, because Facebook, I think, a lot of people, unfortunately, are going away from to some extent. I don't think they've liked everything they've done politically, and that's been a lot of the move. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Google's done the same, but it's just not as much in your face as Facebook is or whatever. But at the same time, Google actually is a lot of the time. I know that I worked with a musician, and he did Facebook ads and he also did Google ads, and he gained a lot more students through Google ads than he ever did through Facebook. So it's different kinds of advertising. Just remember, Facebook is, they're passive customers. They've got to look through the feed in order to find you. But Google ads, people are actually buying something. They're searching for it. They need that information. So that's the reason why I think Google Ads sometimes do better.
And Roxy, this might be a good place to tell everyone that we are doing an entire series of trainings with Roxy. This is the only in-person one. The others are actually available virtually. So if you just give us your information, we'll make sure you get added to our newsletter that will have all that information in it.
But Google Ads is one of those trainings that I'll be doing, I think, later on in the year as well.
And do you think it's fair to say that it depends on your business, that you need to be a little bit of a couple different places?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's what I found with mine, I think.
Yes, you have to, one doesn't cut it, because even with Google Ads, if you use that just alone, they can change the algorithm. How many times have I've come across people that say, I used to get thousands of dollars worth of like products, and people come in, and then suddenly they've made some switch and some change, and your website's like in violation. And they're now no longer sending you traffic. So you have to have an alternative. So there's got to be something that you use a lot of, but then always have an alternative that you can work with as well. So it's a little bit of both. Next week, on Thursday, it's a virtual training that I'll be doing for you. It's how to be found by Google. It's search engine optimization. That's actually my forte. I teach you what types of keywords and key phrases, how you research that. As well. So make sure to attend that training. And then please feel free to leave me a review. You have to unashamedly ask, because what happens is, and I've met too many people that don't ask for reviews, and then what happens, they get a bad one. How do you delete that bad review? You can't delete that bad review, unfortunately. So if you do put yourself out there, if you've got Facebook posts, if you've got a website and there's a way for somebody to comment, I in fact know of a florist that it was really sad actually, she had an emergency come up and she had to close the door of her florist and then go, I can't remember exactly what it was, but she had an emergency, she left. Well, someone left her a review that basically said you were closed. Well, Google took her off. You know, her Google business profile was taken off, and it took her 3 to 4 months to get it back. So keep those things in mind. Like they take seriously if you're not open, when you say that you will be. So please, like I said, so feel free, leave me a review if you'd like. And finally this screen here. But let me go I wanted to show you on Facebook, hopefully, end this show and then open up Facebook and then you can see what it. All right. Oh, I'm not online, am I? I forgot about that. Yeah, can you? See if I can grab my glasses too. You can actually see.
While they're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and draw out a business card here, so when they get a card from the original flavor, and it's upscale details. This is from Original Flavor Bistro, and they're the ones who cater. Let's do that. There you go. You're welcome.
I'm still learning. I was wondering.
Okay, because we're offline, or at least it can't connect, these are what some of those screenshots look like. Maybe even next week when I do training, we can actually go through them. But these are, like I said, what the screenshots look like. You create, like, just creating your ad, just do that through Ad Center. And then you have buttons where you select the media. So you can actually click on select media and add up to 5 photographs right there. Type in the headline, add in a button or a label, and this is all, like I said, these are screenshots taken through Ad Center. From there, you can select if it's a single image, a video, a carousel of images, a slideshow, and of course it says there you can have up to 10 images as well. And you can see too, most people use their mobile to buy. So a lot of the time, that's what you're making sure of, is that you optimize for the mobile phone. Also, something to keep in mind too is that Google is a mobile-first browser, which means if you have a website and it's not optimized for the mobile phone, they will demote your site. So things like that, again, keep in mind. But here, this is, like I said, it's all given through Ad Center. You can actually see in this, you create your audience. So as you can see right there, you click that browse button, and then it goes into what's the demographics, what's the education level. I mean, it can get Big Brother-like on Facebook ads for you. And then what's great too is it gives you a budget or an ad spend. How much do you want to spend a day? So this is exactly some screenshots as to what Facebook actually looks like. So, but you'll see, like I said, when you're on your page, on the left-hand side, you'll see something that says Ad Center. If you click on that, you can create ad, and this is the screenshots that you will receive. It's a lot easier to use than Ad Manager, and it works better. What's that?
It does look like it.
It's easier. It's easier. It's so much easier to use, and actually the information that it provides you is actually something you'll use as well. So keep that in mind. And like I said, I experimented because especially last year when I had those trainings with Facebook, he, called, of course, from Palo Alto, and we went through some. It's like, because I look after a lot of other people's accounts sometimes, and especially I was doing that much more last year, and they were teaching Ad Manager and how to look after the account through Ad Manager. Well, we sold more products through Ad Center the simple way than we did through Ad Manager, but I'm not a fan of Ad Manager. Unless you're a programmer, unless you have those technical skills, unless you can basically add in some of those target phrases and code, there's no point using it. It's very difficult to use. So, but you'll get, like I said, just if not better results in Ad Center. And these are what the screenshots look like. So it's a lot easier to use. But I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for attending. I'm hoping that was useful for you, at least somewhat, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.